We begin with the gentleman around whom this fight card was built, the reigning, defending, undisputed UFC Bantamweight champion, Merab the Machine Dvalishvili. Yes. 135, the official weight for the champ, Merab Dvalishvili. All right, next fighter to the scale, the other half of the main event, the number 3 ranked bantamweight contender and former undisputed champion of the world, Petr Yan. 135, the official weight for Petr Yan, and with that, your main event for UFC 323 is now official. All right, next fighter to weigh in this morning, the other champ around whom the fight card was built, the undisputed flyweight king, the cannibal Alexandre Pantoja. 125, the official weight for the champion Alexandre Pantoja. All right, next fighter to the scale, challenging for the men's flyweight championship here Saturday night, the number 1 ranked contender, the Burmese-American Joshua Van. 124.5, the official weight for the number 1 contender, Joshua Van, and with that, your UFC flyweight championship co-main event is now official. All right, next fighter to weigh in, competing in a middleweight prelim, Mansour Abdul Malik. 185.5, the official weight for Mansour Abdul Malik. All right, next man to the scale, competing in a lightweight prelim on FX and ESPN2, Nazim Sadikov. 155.5 for Nazim Sadikov. All right, next fighter to the scale, same division, half of the featured prelim in the lightweight division, Manuel Torres. 156, the official weight for Manuel Torres. All right, next fighter to the scale, competing live on pay-per-view, future UFC Hall of Famer and the former flyweight standard, now number 2 ranked contender, the assassin baby, Brandon Moreno. 125, the official weight for Brandon Moreno. All right, next fighter to the scale, competing in the lightweight division, the UFC legend, Edson Jr. Barboza. 155.5, the official weight for Edson Barboza. All right, next fighter to the scale, undefeated light heavyweight, Ivo Baranevski. 206 for Ivo Baranevski. All right, next athlete to the stage, the number 5 ranked light heavyweight contender and former undisputed champion, the legend Jan Blachowicz. 206 for Jan Blachowicz. All right, next fighter to the scale. Good to see this man back competing in the lightweight division, Jalen the Tarantula Turner. 155 for Jalen Turner. All right, next fighter to the scale, the number 9 ranked women's flyweight contender, Karine Killer Silva. 125.5, the official weight for Karine Silva. All right, next fighter to the scale, competing on pay-per-view, the number 5 ranked flyweight contender, Tatsuro Taira. 126 for Tatsuro Taira. All right, next fighter to the scale, competing in the featherweight prelim opener, Muhammad Naimov. 146 for Muhammad Naimov. All right, next man up, competing in a light heavyweight prelim, Ibo Aslan. 205.5 for Ibo Aslan. All right, next gentleman to the scale, the number 13 ranked lightweight contender, the other half of the featured prelim, Grant Dawson. .156, the official weight for Grant Dawson. All right, next athlete to the scale, back for the first time in a long time, the number 5 ranked flyweight contender, Macy Barber. .125.5 for Macy Barber. All right, next fighter to the scale, part of the main card opener in the light heavyweight division, the number 11 ranked contender, Bogdan Guskov. 206, the official weight for Bogdan Guskov. All right, next fighter to weigh in this morning, competing in the middleweight division, Bruno Fajeda. .189 for Bruno Fajeda, 3 pounds over the middleweight limit. All right, next fighter to weigh in this morning, competing on the pay-per-view main card in the Bantamweight division, Reno, Nevada's finest, Peyton Talbot. .136, the official weight for Peyton Talbot. All right, next fighter to weigh in this morning, competing in a lightweight prelim, live on FX and ESPN2, Fares Ziam. .156, the official weight for Fares Ziam. All right, next athlete to the stage, competing on the pay-per-view main card, the number 10 ranked bantamweight contender, former 2-division UFC champion and future Hall of Famer, Triple C, Henry Cejudo. .136, the official weight for Henry Cejudo. All right, next fighter to the scale, the number 14 ranked middleweight title contender, former world title challenger, the Italian Dream, Marvin Vettori. .186, the official weight for Marvin Vettori. All right, next fighter to the scale, competing in a middleweight prelim, Antonio Truccoli. .186, the official weight for Antonio Truccoli. All right, next fighter to the scale, competing in a lightweight preliminary bout, Terrence McKinney. .156, the official weight for Terrence McKinney. All right, next fighter to the scale, competing in a prelim in the lightweight division, Chris Duncan. .156, the official weight for Chris Duncan. All right, our final athlete to weigh in this morning, competing in a featherweight prelim, Myron Santos. .147.5, the official weight for Myron Santos, 1.5 pounds over the featherweight limit.